This is a simple tutorial on how to polish resin. Here's a flower preservation piece I did with my client's wedding bouquet, and it's pretty much finished. You can see the top is very shiny. I did a top coat on the front. However, the sides and the back are not as shiny. It's a little bit more matte. It's not that bad, but you can see that it's kind of dull. And that's because I used a silicone mold that was used several times before, so it's not as shiny as when the silicone mold was brand new. I'm gonna polish the sides and the back to restore the shine. First, I'm grabbing a colorless oil and I'm gonna rub it into the walls of the piece. This is something I came up with recently because I noticed that when you apply a polishing compound directly to a resin piece, sometimes there are very small pinholes that aren't visible to the naked eye, and this is especially present when you use a silicone mold. And once you use a white polishing compound, it can fill up those little baby holes and then cause them to become very visible. So I'm rubbing a generous amount of oil into my walls so that some of those holes are filled with this oil, and it serves as a protective barrier against the compound from filling those holes and making them visible. This isn't going to solve that issue entirely, but it does seem to help a lot. I'm actually using an all-natural oil that's intended for use on the body, and the main ingredient is safflower oil, and you can really use any colorless oil for this part. I'm grabbing my polishing compound. This is my go-to polishing compound. It's Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. I'm gonna shake the bottle really well before I start using it. This is actually meant for cars, and I think the Meguiar's line of polishing products is the best. Now I've mixed that polishing compound pretty well, and I'm placing a microfiber towel on the table and then placing my piece on it upside down to protect the front. Now I'm applying my rubbing compound, and oops, it wasn't supposed to splatter like that, but it did whatever it wanted to do, and we're just gonna roll with it. And I'm gonna spread out the rubbing compound with my gloved hand. I'm gonna work on one side at a time, and I'm grabbing my polishing pad. It's actually a drill attachment, and it comes with a variety of different pads. This white pad and the wool pad are the best ones. Anything spongy isn't gonna work very well because it will just absorb all the polishing compound. So I've attached the polishing pad to my drill, and I'm holding down the trigger to rotate the pad. And I'm gonna work very slowly all around the surface area of this side that I'm polishing. The key is to make sure that pad is able to rub the polish into the resin. So you don't want to work too quickly. You do want to move slowly, and you want to move over a certain area multiple times. I'm not editing this video clip just so you can see how I work the polish into the resin in real time. As you're polishing, you'll notice that your polishing compound goes through different stages. At first, it's very liquidy and fluid, and when you first slab it on with your polishing pad, you're basically just spreading it out and thinning out the product. And as you polish and time goes by, you'll notice a very hazy layer on top of your resin. And then eventually you'll notice that the polishing compound clears up. And at that point, the compound has stiffened up a lot and it's not very liquidy anymore. And when it clears up, that's the point when you know you're finished. And if you apply a lot of polishing compound initially, then it will take a lot longer to get to that clear end stage of your polish, just because you're working a lot more product in. But also you will end up with a shinier piece, because you are working so much product in. And if you use a smaller amount, it will get you there faster, but you may need to do more than one polish. So I've reached that end stage with my polish. You can see it was at first very hazy and now it's cleared up. I'm grabbing a clean microfiber towel and I'm gonna wipe off the polish on this back side. And once you wipe it off, you'll be able to see how shiny your piece is. If at this point it's still not shiny enough, you can repeat the process and it will be much shinier. You can always repeat the polish as many times as you need. Now I'm gonna work on this side of the piece, and I'm pretty much going to repeat the process that I did with the back side. I'm spreading my product across the walls, and then I'm gonna use my polishing pad to buff it in. I can see that the polishing compound is starting to clear up. So this side is finished and I'm gonna wipe it down to see how shiny it is. It's very shiny and I'm really happy with it, so I'm gonna move on to the next side and repeat the process. This side is looking good, so I'm gonna move on and do the last side, which is the bottom. I'm finished polishing this last side, so I'm gonna wipe it down to make sure it looks good. And I think it looks really great, so I'm gonna stop polishing here. If your piece isn't as shiny as you want it, just give it a few more polishing sessions and you'll get there. Sometimes it can take 3 or 4 times to get a really nice shine if you had a worn out mold. Now I'm gonna wipe my piece clean and make sure I get any polishing compound that got on the front or that still is remaining on the sides to make sure to clean all of that up. If you see any polishing compound in the little tiny pinholes, you can always take it to the sink with some soap and water and use a fine bristle toothbrush. That always helps. And here's how the piece looks like after one polishing session. It took me about 10 minutes. And as the last step, I'm gonna grab a little bit more of my colorless oil and apply that to the entire piece just to kind of seal that polish in and give it an extra shine. Normally, if you use polish on a car, you're supposed to seal it in with wax. So that's why I just apply a little bit more oil on top of it. And if you want to take it a step further, you can always get a clean polishing pad and buff that oil in too. I don't want my piece to be oily, so I am wiping it down clean with a microfiber towel. And now it's all finished and shiny. This is how it turned out. I hope this helps, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye!